If you don't know about flyer deals on Instacart, this message is for you. Flyer deals are like strolling through your favorite store looking for deals, but you're scrolling your phone, and maybe you're in bed. Because getting delivery doesn't mean you have to miss deals like you'd get at the store, like the one creamer that doesn't make your stomach hurt, or the pasta sauce you can't not buy when it's on sale. So download the Instacart app, shop flyers, and never miss a deal on one of your favorites. Plus, get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes.
Hey there, this is Alexis Knight. Welcome to True Crime, the Court of Public Opinion. I am your host, guiding you through cases that have moved through the courts and reached a conclusion, but left the public divided. These are not your typical cut and dried cases. These are the ones where the facts may seem clear, but the truth, well, that's another story. Now, imagine this. You are the President of the United States, and your son has been convicted of federal crimes. You've publicly stated you will not intervene, but as the days pass, you watch him face what you believe to be a selective and unfair prosecution. The weight of your role as both a father and the nation's leader presses heavily upon you. What do you do? This is the exact dilemma President Joe Biden confronted here in late 2024. His son, Hunter Biden, had pleaded guilty to tax violations and was convicted on firearms-related charges. Now, despite earlier pledges to let the justice system operate without interference, President Biden chose to grant a full and unconditional pardon to his son, Hunter, covering offenses all the way from January 1 of 2014 to December 1 of 2024. He justified this decision by stating that Hunter was unfairly targeted due to their familial connection and criticized what he perceived as selective prosecution against his son. This unprecedented move ignited a firestorm of debate. Was it a father's rightful act to protect his son from unjust treatment, or did it cross the line into an abuse of presidential power? Here we are going to delve into this controversial case that has left many questioning the boundaries between personal loyalty and public duty. Stick with me here as we explore the intricate layers of this case and ask ourselves, where should the line be drawn between justice and judgment? Because of their nature, these cases are difficult to decide, leaving people at odds with each other. The court has made its ruling. But what do you think? We're going to dive into this case that has sparked endless debate and is going to continue. So listen closely, and by the end of this episode, you'll have the chance to decide for yourself. Was justice truly served here, or is there more to the story? Imagine waking up to the news that the President of the United States has issued a full and unconditional pardon. And not for a misunderstood figure or a wrongly convicted person, but for his own son, whose crimes have been splashed across headlines for years. There's no way to get out of the fact that these things did happen. I mean, this isn't an abstract legal debate here, or a complex case shrouded in uncertainty. The evidence is clear. It has been made public. It is indisputable. Photos of Hunter Biden engaging in illegal drug use and posing with a firearm he was not legally allowed to possess have circulated widely. These are not allegations here. These are facts that have already been given to us, the public, across the world. Facts we have already seen. Now, Hunter Biden's legal troubles began with two straightforward charges, if you're confused. One, failing to pay federal taxes, and illegally owning a firearm while struggling with drug addiction. For ordinary Americans, Such offenses typically result in serious consequences, consequences many have no hope of avoiding. You do it, you're in, you're done, that's it. Yet for Hunter, the scales of justice tipped in an extraordinary way when his father, President Joe Biden, decided to intervene, granting him a pardon that wiped the slate clean. This decision has sent shockwaves through the public, and it was immediate. People are not just angry, they are disillusioned. How can justice be served when power and privilege are wielded to protect the few while the many are left to fend for themselves? The message this sends is chilling, that accountability applies only to those without the connections to escape it. This isn't about whether Hunter Biden deserves compassion. It's about whether the justice system is being weaponized against the very people it claims to protect. At its core, this case is not just about Hunter Biden. This is about what his pardon represents. It's about a country where countless individuals fight tooth and nail to prove their innocence or accept the consequences of their actions, while the powerful rewrite the rules in their favor. As we delve deeper into this case, we'll explore the growing divide between the justice system as it is and as it should be. So stick with me as we unravel how this decision challenges the very principles America was built upon: fairness, accountability, and the idea that no one is above the law. The facts of Hunter Biden's case are not disputed. In 2023, he faced charges for failing to pay taxes on millions of dollars of income and for unlawfully possessing a firearm during a period of admitted drug addiction. Both are clear violations of federal law, and that's it. They are violations of federal law. The tax evasion case was straightforward. He owed substantial sums to the IRS and failed to pay, despite his financial means. The gun charge was equally undeniable. Federal law explicitly prohibits drug users from owning firearms, and Hunter's addiction was not only public knowledge, but was also well documented in photos and his own writings. For most Americans, these facts would lead to significant legal consequences, from prison time to years of financial restitution. Yet, Hunter's path was markedly different. After entering a plea deal on the tax charges and agreeing to a diversion program for the firearm offense, it seemed he might escape with minimal repercussions. But when that deal fell apart under judicial scrutiny, a trial loomed until his father stepped in, granting him a full pardon. This full pardon, if you do not understand, this erases years of legal liability with one sweeping motion. This is a major pardon. Not all pardons are the same, guys. For critics, this pardon is more than an act of family loyalty. This is a direct assault on the concept of justice. The images of Hunter with a firearm, juxtaposed against the stories of countless individuals serving years in prison for similar offenses, paint a damning picture. How can the public trust a system that allows the most powerful family in the country to bypass its rules? This is something we have seen before, but this is particularly in the public's face right here during the holidays, during a very divisive election that just happened, right? I mean, while many can empathize with a father's desire to protect his son, this decision doesn't just affect Hunter Biden. It undermines the entire framework of accountability. Now consider this. Every day, families across America, they have to watch loved ones face the harsh realities of the justice system, and they deal. They have to. For many, there's no reprieve. There's no intervention from a higher authority to come and save the day. The idea that a president tasked with upholding the Constitution and the rule of law would leverage his position to shield his son feels like a betrayal. And this case strikes at the heart of American values, leaving citizens asking one critical question. If the law does not apply to the powerful, does it apply to anyone at all? Should it? As we dig deeper, we'll explore the rippling effects of this decision, not just on the Biden administration, but on the fabric of public trust in governance itself. Stick with me here as we unravel what this means for we the people. The outrage surrounding Hunter Biden's pardon isn't just about what happened. It's about what it symbolizes. Every single year, thousands of Americans face harsh penalties for similar offenses. Nonviolent drug offenders serve long sentences, their lives permanently altered by convictions for actions that pale in comparison to Hunter's. Meanwhile, gun laws are enforced with strict severity on average citizens. It's regardless of any personal struggles they're having or circumstances. And to many, the message this pardon sends is clear. There are two systems of justice in America, one for the powerful and one for everybody else. This case highlights a growing fracture in public trust. The justice system is often heralded as the great equalizer, a place where everyone, regardless of status, is subject to the same rules. Yet high-profile cases like this one expose cracks in that foundation, leaving the public wondering, is justice truly blind? Or does it see wealth and power all too clearly? The images of Hunter Biden with a firearm and the undeniable evidence of his tax evasion, they're not just damning, they are a mirror reflecting a system that seems willing to bend for the few while remaining rigid for the many. For the average American, the inequity is palpable. Imagine being the parent of someone serving time for a non-violent drug offense, or the family member of someone who lost everything in a legal battle with the IRS. How do you reconcile their struggles with the ease in which Hunter Biden's record was wiped clean? It's wiped clean. One day. The pardon doesn't just clear Hunter's name. It deepens the wounds of countless families who feel the weight of a system stacked against them. And then there's the precedent. This isn't just a political decision. This is a signal to future leaders, a dangerous precedent that the power of the presidency can be wielded not for the greater good, but for personal interests. The ripple effects of this action will likely extend far beyond Hunter Biden, further eroding the already fragile trust Americans have in their government. The public is left grappling with a painful truth. Justice isn't just about laws, it's about perception. And when that perception falters, the very foundation of democracy begins to crack. As we come up on our next section here, I'm going to dive deeper into the specific arguments for and against this pardon and explore whether there's any justification that could balance the scales in the eyes of the public. We're going to dissect the legal, ethical, and emotional ramifications of this unprecedented decision that is leaving most Americans stunned just after Thanksgiving here. At its core, this case is not just about one man or one decision. This is about the deep, growing chasm between the ideals America was founded upon and the reality its citizens face. Hunter Biden's pardon feels like a slap in the face to those who have long believed in the promise of equal justice under the law. For many, the system has always been far from perfect, but this decision has brought that imperfection into sharp, undeniable focus. How can you hide this one? Consider the countless individuals who have been punished for much less. A single drug charge, a missed tax payment, or a firearm offense can lead to years of incarceration, fines that cripple families, and futures that are irreparably damaged. And these are not isolated cases. They're the stories of everyday Americans who do not have the luxury of presidential intervention. They're the stories of people who must navigate a system that seems designed to punish the powerless and protect the privileged. And the outrage isn't just about Hunter Biden. It's about what his pardon represents to a nation already grappling with inequality. It's about the single mother facing years behind bars for a non-violent drug offense. It's about the veteran whose firearm charge derailed their entire life. It's about every individual who looks at this case and wonders, why isn't my family worthy of such leniency? This decision doesn't just reflect on Hunter Biden. It reflects on an entire system that appears more broke than ever. Hunter Biden's legal troubles began long before his father's presidency. They came to a head during Joe Biden's first term. And by 2023, Hunter was facing 2 sets of federal charges: the failure to pay taxes on millions of dollars of income, and illegal possession of a firearm. Both charges were clear-cut. They were all over everywhere, photos and other substantial evidence to support them. Now, on the tax side, Hunter reportedly earned millions from foreign business dealings, but then failed to pay taxes owed to the IRS. While he eventually paid off his tax debts, the law is explicit. Payment after the fact does not erase the crime. For many Americans, this type of violation would result in serious legal consequences, including hefty fines, probation, or even prison time for the average citizen. Now, the firearm charge was equally straightforward. Federal law clearly prohibits individuals who use or are addicted to controlled substances from owning firearms. Seems pretty basic and straightforward, and Hunter's drug addiction was no secret. He had openly discussed his struggles, and photographic evidence surfaced showing him using illegal drugs while in possession of a firearm. So this wasn't a gray area or a question of interpretation. This was a clear violation of federal law. Now, initially, Hunter reached a plea deal with federal prosecutors, agreeing to plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax charges and enter a diversion program for the firearm offense. The deal was criticized by many as overly lenient, and during a court hearing in July of 23, the agreement fell apart under scrutiny from a federal judge. With the plea deal voided, Hunter faced the prospect of a trial and potential prison time. This sequence of events was already unusual, but what followed was unprecedented. On December 1 of 2024, President Joe Biden issued a full and unconditional pardon for his son, covering offenses that date back all the way to 2014. Now, in a public statement, the president justified this decision by claiming that Hunter was unfairly targeted due to their familial connection, and that the pardon was necessary to ensure justice. Now, for critics, the evidence against Hunter was so overwhelming that this explanation rang hollow. Pictures, financial records, even Hunter's own admissions painted a very clear picture of guilt that you just cannot deny. The pardon wasn't seen as an act of justice. This was seen and is seen as a brazen use of power to shield a family member. The facts of the case were undeniable, yet the consequences for Hunter Biden became non-existent, all carried out in front of the public. The evidence against Hunter Biden was not circumstantial. This was not speculative. It was concrete, undeniable, and very public. Photos of him using illegal drugs while holding a firearm were widely circulated. These images alone violated federal law, specifically the statute prohibiting drug users from possessing firearms. The documentation of his tax violations was equally robust, with financial records showing millions in unpaid taxes and substantial earnings. These were not minor oversights. These were not technicalities. These were deliberate actions that would lead to harsh consequences for most Americans. Hunter's public admissions added another layer of clarity. In interviews and in his own memoir, Beautiful Things, he openly discussed his struggles with addiction during the time these crimes were committed. While his candor may have humanized him to some, it also removed any doubt about the validity of the charges. By his own account, he was guilty of the actions for which he was charged. There should be no question here. Yet despite the abundance of evidence, the outcome of Hunter Biden's legal troubles couldn't have been more different from what ordinary citizens experience. The plea deal initially offered to him raised eyebrows across the political spectrum. Critics argued it was far too lenient, especially for someone whose crimes were both high profile and blatantly illegal. When the deal fell apart in court, many assumed Hunter would finally face the consequences of his actions, like other people would. But instead, the pardon swept everything under the rug. Everything. The timing of the pardon was also suspicious here. It came just as the legal process was poised to intensify, with a potential trial looming. By stepping in at this critical moment, President Biden ensured that Hunter would never have to face or answer for his crimes in court. And this decision didn't just protect Hunter, it shielded the administration from further political fallout, raising serious ethical questions about the use of presidential power. For many Americans, the facts of this case highlight a painful double standard. Ordinary people do not get to explain away their crimes or avoid consequences by invoking addiction or family circumstances. The law does not work that way for them, and it shouldn't work that way for anyone. Yet here was a clear case of someone benefiting from their proximity to power, a privilege most Americans could never dream of. Hunter Biden's guilt is not a matter of opinion. This is a matter of record. The question now is whether this blatant disregard for justice will deepen the public's mistrust in the system or galvanize calls for accountability at the highest levels. The starkness of Hunter Biden's guilt is impossible to ignore. In fact, it's rare to see a federal case with this level of clarity, where both photographic evidence and the defendant's own words align so unequivocally with the charges. It's very unique. The firearm, the drugs, the financial records, these are all pieces of a puzzle that leaves no room for doubt. For the average citizen, these crimes could lead to swift and severe consequences. Yet for Hunter, the rules seem to bend and ultimately break. Okay, take the gun charge, for example. Federal law under Title 18, Section 922 of the United States Code is explicit. Anyone, quote, unlawfully using or addicted to a controlled substance, unquote, is prohibited from possessing a firearm. Enforcement of this law is typically stringent, with violators facing mandatory minimum sentences and little room for leniency. Hunter's case didn't require deep investigation or conflicting testimony. The evidence was literally in the palm of his hand, a photograph showing him with a firearm while in active drug use. This was not a case of he said, she said, or anything else. This was fact. And America gets really riled up over gun issues. What's going to happen here? Because he's getting away with it. The justice system handled Hunter's case as though these laws were somehow negotiable and he could just do what he needs to do and will not bother with it. From the initial plea to this final pardon, each step seemed designed to minimize his accountability. Compare this to the countless individuals currently serving time for far less. Don't we hear about how full our jails are and prisons? I mean, in 2021 alone, over 20,000 people were charged under similar federal firearm laws, many receiving significant prison time despite having no history of violence. I mean, the disparity is glaring. The tax violations, they tell a similar story. Millions of Americans fear the IRS for much less. Missteps on a return, late filings, or minor underpayments. For Hunter, this situation was egregious. Millions of dollars in income went untaxed, despite his clear ability to pay. While he eventually settled his debts, the law does not grant immunity for those who wait until they're caught to come clean. The public sees this as yet another example of privilege in action, rules that apply to the masses, but not to the well-connected. Again, this case is not just about legal technicalities. This is about trust. Every detail of Hunter Biden's actions chips away at the public's faith in a system that is supposed to be impartial. The facts are not complicated. The crimes are not unusual. What is unusual is this outcome. For a nation that prides itself on the rule of law, the pardon feels like a betrayal of the most basic promise of trust. The pardon itself has become one of the most divisive acts in modern American politics and will continue to be. By issuing this pardon, President Biden did not just erase Hunter's legal liability. He sparked a debate about the very nature of fairness and accountability in the justice system. The problem isn't just the leniency, it's the blatant disregard for the rules that millions of Americans are held to daily. Critics argue that this act sets a dangerous precedent, creating a perception that those in power can rewrite the rules to protect their own. The facts of Hunter's case, his tax evasion, the illegal firearm possession, his admitted drug use, they are all crimes that have clear legal consequences. Yet his pardon renders those consequences completely irrelevant for him, effectively erasing years of documented wrongdoing in one sweeping decision. He has a new slate on life. It's all clean, ready to go. And the comparison to ordinary Americans that face similar charges, it's unavoidable. I mean, consider the thousands of nonviolent offenders that are currently serving time right now for possession of controlled substances. Maybe they weren't holding guns and photographs while smoking crack, but there they are, serving time for their possession. Many of these individuals, they had far fewer resources, and they committed far less serious offenses, yet they had to face the full weight of the law, and their families can only watch in frustration as someone like Hunter, with indisputable evidence of guilt, walks away without a scratch, home for Christmas and the New Year, with no criminal record. And then there's the broader context. I mean, this pardon isn't just about Hunter, of course. It is about what it represents to all of us in the public. It's a reminder that the justice system is often as much about who you are as it is about what you have done. For those without the privilege of a powerful last name or the ability to access elite legal counsel, the outcome would be starkly different. The public is left to wonder, if the rules do not apply equally, Can the system itself be trusted at all? The public's frustration is compounded by the visibility of Hunter's actions. I mean, this isn't a case shrouded in mystery or complicated by conflicting narratives. It was all right there for all of us to see. They'll probably all disappear from the internet now, but sure, the photos, the records, the admissions, all from Hunter himself, they leave no room for ambiguity. The pardon then feels less like a debate over justice and more like a blatant abuse of power. Carried out in plain sight, by the way. I mean, for many, this is not just about Hunter. It's about the broader implications for fairness in a country that claims to be built on equality under the law. The Hunter Biden case has become more than a legal matter at this point. It is a symbol of a system that seems to bend for the powerful and break for everyone else. The facts are so clear, so well documented. There is no room for interpretation here. This is not about conspiracy theories. This is not about political bias. This is about evidence that has been publicly available for years. For most Americans, these same facts would result in life-altering consequences, no doubt, from imprisonment to financial ruin. But for Hunter, they've resulted in nothing. And actually, he even benefited more than just these recent crimes. He's cleared all the way back for a decade. And this is what makes this case so deeply frustrating for the public. I mean, every detail from the photos to the financial records to the judicial proceedings points to guilt. No technicalities to hide. And for families who have seen loved ones serve years for nonviolent offenses, the contrast is unbearable. Imagine being the parent of someone who made one mistake. A young adult caught with a firearm or struggling with addiction, and watching them face the full force of the law. And now imagine seeing someone like Hunter Biden, whose actions are far more egregious, receive a get-out-of-jail-free card just because of who his dad is. The pain, the anger, and the disillusionment are all too real. And what's perhaps most troubling is how this case undermines the very principles that are supposed to hold the justice system together. Equality under the law is more than a slogan. It is a promise. It's the idea that no one, regardless of their wealth or connections, is above the rules. And when that promise is broken, it doesn't just affect one case. It shakes the foundation of public trust in the entire system. The facts of Hunter Biden's case are indisputable, and so is the public's frustration. This isn't just a story about one man's actions. It's a story about what those actions and their lack of consequences say about America today. And so we are left here now with the most important question: what does this mean for America? On one side, you have a father, a president, who claims his son was unfairly targeted and used his constitutional power to intervene. On the other hand, you have undeniable facts, a whole set of facts, photos, financial records, admissions, things that would land anybody else in prison. At what point does personal loyalty cross the line into an abuse of power? And where does that leave the rest of us? The citizens who must live under these laws. The public outrage isn't just about Hunter Biden's crimes. It's about what his pardon represents. It's a reminder of the stark divide between the powerful and the powerless. For so many families, this case feels like a slap in the face, a painful acknowledgement that justice is not, and perhaps never has been, applied equally. But the question remains, was this pardon a necessary act to correct a perceived injustice? Or was it a gross misuse of presidential power? Does this decision undermine the principles of fairness and accountability that are supposed to define our nation? Or is it simply another example of the complicated realities of political life? In the end, the courts have spoken, and the pardon is final. It's a case that has left the nation divided when they're already divided about so many other things. What will this division do? There are no easy answers, no resolution in sight. What if the public came together on this? What could happen then? Could there be change? Could there be more transparency? Could we avoid blatant misuses of justice like this? Is it possible? And maybe you agree with this decision and would like to see more of it. Political leaders relieving their children of any consequences that they might be facing for crimes that they committed that might be crimes like other people you might know. Should we continue in this way? What do you think? It's now your turn to decide. Was this justice? Was this power wielded without accountability? We can only decide for ourselves. The Constitution allows for this power to be used. Do you feel it was misused? Thank you for joining me here in True Crime, the Court of Public Opinion. Stay safe out there, guys. Stay curious and ask the difficult questions. And until next time, this is Alexis Knight.